All right, welcome back to the Tool World Podcast. I'm your host, David Jew, and I'm here with Master Jew.
How's it going there, Mr. Jew?
It's going okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Nice and hot?
Yeah. All right, this week we're going to be talking a little bit about hand positions when you're doing side piercing kick. You know, what are we doing with the hand, right? So you have a few different positions. Let's go through them. So number one, you have.
Number one, you have?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Oh, well, when you do a side piercing kick, like the one, like in Wanyo, you have the middle side piercing kick and you punch, and the other hand is on your hip.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
You have pulling the hand back.
Back to your hip.
Yeah.
Right. You also have,
Maintaining the position.
right, guarding position, or maybe it's on the hip, right?
Yeah.
Maintain that. So the hands are just maintained in the previous position. You have that.
Right.
Let's see, do you have side piercing in Warong where you grab your hand, the hand just pulls back? I don't think it goes back to the hip though, does it?
No.
It just pulls
Well,
back.
I would say that one's probably a little bit separate because there's an application specific for that one. I mean, that's the same as like Sosan. The hands are out and then you maintain there too.
Right,
So those
right.
are special kind of cases.
I think it's still valid because of the application why you do certain things. Or your hand positions are, because there's an application to it.
Right.
Like in
Okay.
Warong, right? You pull it back because you're doing a release. Or in
Or you're pulling it in while you're side piercing.
Right.
Right.
Right, and that's more for that release because you're not holding their hand.
Right. And then in Sosan, it's like somebody's grabbed
Someone's
your
grabbing
hand,
you and
so
you're
you
just,
kick them.
just kick them, but you don't pull it back in.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that capability.
Right.
Well, that's the application that you, if you look at the encyclopedia, right? But then once that you do that, then you bring the hands in and you're relaxed to do the next kick.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's stick with the more basic ones: the punching, pulling the hand back, and then maintaining the guard.
Okay.
Right.
Well, we have talked about that one like in Moo Moo, where is that a punch or is that just a reaction hand?
How about for this podcast, we'll just omit that because we did that a couple weeks back, and if they want to hear that debate, they can go back to that one.
Go back and
Yeah.
listen
So
to that.
we'll just stick with what are we doing with the punch, what are we doing with pulling back the hand, and what are we doing with the maintaining the guard.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start with the punch.
But
But
I think it's kind of interesting because in Moo Moo, you look at the reaction hand. Some people do it with their hand in the armpit.
well, that could be any
it's
betting ready stance. So the non-punching hand, some
Right.
people might pull it to the armpit or to the hip. So we're starting with that one first, the punching,
Okay.
right? And what exactly are we doing with the punch, and which position is correct? So we'll start with what are we doing with the punch?
In the middle side piercing punch.
Yeah.
With the side piercing kick. The reaction hand. No. Well, what?
I said, what are we doing with the punch?
Oh, what is the idea?
Yeah.
Well, when we look at that specific technique, middle side, as General Chase says, you perform a single punch in the middle side piercing kick, unless otherwise stated, right? And so the idea was really to train us to be able to, in case your leg got intercepted, right, blocked, you can execute a punch on them.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's just a training, just getting our body to move a certain way. And I think that's true with a lot of these things. We may not actually do these type of techniques, but it makes us move our body a certain way, and so we can respond in that way. We're just a little bit more agile.
And then how about that reaction hand? So the hand that's not punching, does it go back to the armpit or does it go back to the belt as you do the side piercing kick?
Well, yeah, it doesn't say specifically, does it? Reaction hand does not necessarily mean that it has to be opposite equal, right? The legs are longer than your hands. And so the time the leg travels is probably longer than the hand, than the arm.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
I mean, we do think of like action, reaction, when a single punch, the distance from punching out should be the same as it coming back to your hip.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably true. But the reaction really is more an idea that we must engage our whole body in order to create maximum power. Eyes, hands, feet, breath together at the same time. That's the way I look at it. Sometimes we don't do that. like we in Do-san, you hold your hand out and this is a wholly different topic, really.
No, okay.
It's
yeah.
a reaction hand, right? You do a front snap kick, you hold the hand out there, you don't actually pull it back, you don't do anything with it. But that's because of an application. In the case of the side piercing kick, is the punching hand is to train in case my leg gets intercepted, I can punch my individual. So the other hand, though, has to come back as the reaction hand. Where should it go? Should it go in the armpit or to the belt? I think in Wanyo we always do. No, we don't even discuss these kind of things really in general. But I think in Wanyo we pull the hand back to our hip. I think in general that's where it normally is. And why is it at the hip? General Che even says that, well, that's just a nice natural position to put your hand. I mean, if I put my hand in my armpit, I have to hold it there. It's not comfortable. It's not a regular relaxed position. But if I'm just standing, I could put my hand on my hip and it would be natural. It wouldn't cause me to exert more energy or anything like that. I would have to focus on trying to keep my hand in my armpit. Do I think, so let's see, what is that pattern?
Samil?
Samil. So you pull the hand back into your armpit.
Yeah.
And then you do the punch, right?
Well, I guess in that sense, then it would make sense. If I was doing side piercing and I pull the hand back to the armpit here,
Because you got
then I'm
another
going
two.
another punch coming ready.
Yeah, I see the problem I see with a lot of students is that they think the punches are actually off the hip, which is not really true because as you start moving, your elbows and your knees should be slightly bent. Basically, you should be relaxed. And I still think that we punch where our hands are around maybe the chest area.
Yeah,
or
most techniques come from
here. And so
Yeah.
we really should be working on techniques. The wind up should be from here. So if I'm winding up the punch, it actually goes more back into my armpit and then forward, as opposed to going down to my hip and then forward out.
right.
And so in regards to the side piercing,
Yeah,
yeah, I think going to the armpit is okay. Wanyo, we're doing that side piercing kick and we're pulling it to the hip. Okay. Is there one right or wrong? And why is it that? I still think it's just a reaction. So when we look at like a competition, which one's right? Or even teaching it or someone's learning it. Should it be on the belt? Should it be in the armpit? Encyclopedia is kind of the way I think you just kind of, for that particular pattern.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to pulling the hand back to the hip. Okay, and what is the position that we need to do? Like in second dan patterns, I think they do that a lot, right?
Right. If I'm pulling my hand back to my left hip, the palm is facing the heaven with the other side fist on top.
Well, what it is just your hand on the hip and you put the other hand on top.
Right.
That's all you're doing, I mean.
Well, I
the
mean,
hands
some
are-
people don't know that.
Yeah, I know, the hands relax and you just,
Right. I mean, because I see sometimes, I don't know what I see.
yeah, they just see the opposite, like that.
Oh, you see the opposite? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually
But,
the
yeah,
other
it's
way.
just your hands
Just
on the hip.
hands
that's
on the
it.
hip and you place
just-
the other hand. Just go like this.
Yeah, there you go.
Just bring that left hand back to your hip and then place the other one on top.
Right.
That's not the way it's supposed to be done.
So usually, I mean, in all the color belt patterns, you mostly see them doing the punch with the kick. But
Right.
only until you get to a higher ranking, like black belt, do we actually see more of a maintaining the hold or pulling the hands in the opposite direction.
I think you're maintaining the hold.
Well, no, like first dan patterns, like Gibek, pulling the
Okay.
hands the opposite direction.
Right, right.
And then all the second dan patterns are that as well, too, I believe.
Okay, but the higher ranking pattern.
But then when you look at like fourth dan or maybe third dan, then it's like, okay, maintaining the hold.
Right. Like the OG where you
Keep the hands on the hip.
keep
right?
your hands on your hip when you do the side
Yeah.
piercing kick.
So why
Not
do
a
we,
lot of power though.
Yeah, why do we pull the hands back to the hip without the punch?
Reaction.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is an interesting topic because when you talk about like middle side piercing kick, you pull the hand back to your hip, the left hand, or let's say you're doing the right side, right
Yeah.
leg, and you're punching, so the left hand goes to your hip. But in this case, you're not punching, so you're pulling both hands back.
Uh-huh.
And so they just go back to the hip. What would you, I guess you could do the side piercing kick and pull both hands back to the hip. Kind of like, yeah.
No, because
Can you do that?
side kick and do that?
No, that wouldn't work right. You have to pull the hand back
In the opposite.
in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
That's how you kind of generate the power.
Right.
And so the hand would go back to the hip.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have it going all the way past the hip.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you pulled it all the way past the hip, your body rotates a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably what it is.
All right, then how about maintaining the guard? Like you were saying, okay, now you don't have, like in Oji, you're holding the hands on the hip, or you hold or you hold the guarding block as you do the side piercing kick. You don't have that reaction anymore.
Really, you kind of don't have the power per se,
Mm-hmm.
as much power. I mean, try to go ahead and break some boards with that. Not to say you couldn't break boards, it's just that you're not going to break the maximum amount of boards that you can normally break.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the power is reduced,
Okay.
right?
But I would.
So why would you do that? You're in a situation. I can kind of see, like, maybe if I'm in the guarding position and I do the side piercing kick. Yeah. I mean, you see that too in sparring. It's like you don't always see the hands actually moving backwards while you're doing certain kicks. You just throw the kick up. Would you say that's true?
Well, yeah, no, I would probably say the ideal position is actually to have maintaining a position.
You want to protect yourself.
Yeah, so holding the guarding block while executing the side piercing kick is probably preferred. And I would probably say that because you see that a lot when in a higher ranking pattern,
Because they
you're
develop so
hopefully
much skill.
hopefully you're very proficient with like your side piercing kick.
Seventh wonder of the world.
Oh, okay,
Or
sure.
eighth wonder of the world.
Yeah,
No, that's a good topic, I think.
yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, thanks for jumping into another TUA podcast. As always, don't forget to be safe,
Keep training.
and we'll see you guys next time.
Take one.